It all started with my mother. She was born in 1920, which was the year that the 19th Amendment was passed. It allowed women the right to vote, and it stated that the right by citizens of the United States shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. When I was younger, she would always tell me the story about how she felt growing up knowing that she would be able to vote when she turned 18. She would tell me how it made her feel empowered and that equality was right around the corner. However, she was mistaken. She had no idea what a long road it would be. As my mother grew up, women began to take higher positions in the government. Frances Perkins became the first woman in the U.S. cabinet when she was elected to be the Secretary of Labor in 1933. She thought that since women were beginning to have important roles in the government, things were already better. As things looked up for the equality of the sexes, things got worse for the country. The Great Depression happened and World War II started. My mother and many other women got to join the workforce and they started to work in factories. The work was dangerous, but they still did it because they felt like they were contributing something to people other than their children. They felt empowered to be able to work like the men did, and because they got to support their families while the men were away fighting. Right after my father returned from the war, I was born in Rochester, New York. As I grew up, the movement was just getting bigger. When I was about 13 years old, I read Betty Friedan's Feminine Mystique, which was a controversial book that inspired many during the feminist movement. It stated that the feminine mystique has succeeded in burying millions of American women alive. Betty Friedan was many women's inspiration, and her book truly shaped the movement. My mother knew how much I loved her book, so she took me all the way to Peoria, Illinois to meet her. Meeting her was a truly inspirational experience, and it shaped my beliefs in the way I lived my life. At a young age, I joined the women's liberation movement. Many women were taught that they should not expect much from life and that they were always going to be someone's keeper, her husband's or her children's. A lot of women, myself included, felt that they were trapped inside the house. In 1968, I traveled to Atlantic City to protest the Miss America pageant. The main point of the protest was to point out the unfair beauty standards that existed and that the pageant was encouraging. During the protest, we made Freedom trash cans, which was where we put all of our things that represented the unrealistic beauty expectations in a trash can. I threw away my curling iron, makeup, and high heels. While I was there, I even met the woman who came up with the idea for the protest. Carol Hainish. She explained that she was supposed to be strong and that she was not supposed to have any personal problems, that her personal problems needed to become political problems. The idea of equality was spreading throughout the government, and in 1970, the Equal Rights Amendment was brought among Congress to vote. When this happened, I went to Washington, D.C. to listen to the Representative Martha Griffith's speech outside of the U.S. Capitol. By March of 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment was passed in the Senate and was sent to the states for ratification. The Equal Rights Amendment read that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex. In 1978, I went back to Washington, D.C. and participated in a record-breaking march to support the Equal Rights Amendment. While at the march, I met the president of the National Organization for Women, Eleanor Smeals. She said that liberty for women is not an idea. It is not a hope. It is a spirit that lives in each one of us, and it can't go away. Another march that I attended was on Mother's Day in 1980 in Chicago, Illinois. There were over 90,000 people who attended the march, and it was one of the many Equal Rights Amendment marches which were defining efforts in the movement. I was certain that the amendment would be ratified, and so were many others. The confidence of the movement was spreading. However, by 1982, the Equal Rights Amendment failed in the state. My mother had thought the fight for equality would be short and easy, but she was wrong. It has been a long and difficult battle, and I wonder how much longer it is going to go on.